Yo, what's going on YouTube? It's Legion here. Now we back at it with another video. Now, yesterday with the release of Marvel Spider-Man 2 gameplay, which was a really good showcase, we eventually got some news about the game and going more into detail. So without further ado, let's get into it. So we got some big news on Kraven. So it goes on to state that Kraven is coming to New York to hunt Marvel's New York heroes and villains. If you looked in the trailer, you can actually see all the people he is hunting. So he is hunting the Shocker, he's hunting Tombstone, Prowler, Wraith, Black Cat, both of the Spider-Men, and the last one we do have is the Lizard, which we got to see in action with the gameplay that we received for him. Now with Kraven coming into the fold, we of course got some new enemy factions with this called the Kraven Hunters. Now these enemies are highly trained and you can of course web them up and dodge their moves, but there are times where you can do neither both and you have to actually parry them, which is pretty cool. But there's a new mechanic coming into Marvel Spider-Man 2, which I feel like should have been a thing, but I'm glad we have it now because parrying seems like a really cool thing, especially when it comes to boss fights. I wonder how the animation is going to be pulled off once we parry some moves from these bosses like Kraven, Venom, and possibly many more villains we don't know about. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see how that go down. And another thing I've noticed from this trailer is the fact is Kraven already knows Peter's identity as Spider-Man for some reason. Because if you looked at the trailer, this man Kraven and his goons pulled up to his home, his childhood home, with the smoke. I'm like, wow, that's crazy. So I'm not sure on how he knows his identity. He possibly stalked Peter and saw him take off his mask or something like that. I'm not sure, but we're going to see how that goes down because that's going to be really interesting with him knowing his identity. He could target the people he likes the most, the people he loves. So it could be really crazy when it comes to the story element that could be tied to that. Now let's get on to the details about the symbiote suit and everything we know about it so far when it comes to the new information we got. So when it comes to the symbiote suit for Peter in Marvel Spider-Man 2, they immediately said it in the blog that Peter isn't pulling his punches in no type of way. When it comes to the Kraven Hunters, he is showing no mercy, which is a perfect setting for Peter when it comes to the symbiote suit, since this is his first time wearing it. And with him not knowing that the suit is making him do things more rationally, he is going all out on these people. You seen it in the trailer. He legit was murking them. It was crazy. Like you saw that clip, man, he was going crazy on them. They also went on to state in the blog that get cozy with the L1 button because you're going to be using it a lot, in which is understandable because if you remember in Miles, we have to use the L1 button for Miles to use his electricity abilities. So of course, when Peter having the symbiote, we're going to be using the L1 button to use all the symbiote powers that we get along with the suit. So I'm pretty excited to see what we can really do with the suit because honestly, what I've seen so far with the tendril punch and also with the tendrils that lift all the enemies in the sky and like the little dives you can do with the rushing ability with the symbiote, man, it looks good. And that just seems like it's only the beginning of it. So I can imagine what we could do later on in the game when it comes to the symbiote. So I'm very, very excited for that. And honestly, from what I saw, this is my opinion, I'm a big Web of Shadows fan. You already know that if you watch my channel or just watching me in general, you know I'm a huge fan of Spider-Man Web of Shadows. And I have to say, from a person that's just in love with the combat from Web of Shadows when it comes to the black suit, dude, I think they might really be on to something with this one. So they might actually outdo Web of Shadows with the combat possibly, but I'm not gonna go and state it so far for right now, set in stone, but it's very possible that they can outdo probably the best combat Spider-Man game that we ever gotten. So I am really, really excited for this. Speaking about excitement, we got the introduction of the instant swapping and web wings. So if you remember in the trailer, after Peter finished the Kraven Hunters, we saw the pop-up that we could actually switch to Miles, and Miles was across the city and we just instantly swapped him, which is crazy. So if you remember in GTA 5, you could swap to any of the characters anytime you wanted to while they were doing something random in the city. So that is pretty cool that we finally got that. And we also got the new mechanic of the catapulting, which is something I've been calling for the longest that should be in this game, and to see it in action it's being so beautifully done. It's crazy. And with that, we got the introduction of the web wings as well, because with him catapulting himself, he just really spread his wings out and he was flying, bro. I was shocked when I first saw that because it really looks super smooth and clean. And they went on to state in the blog that with the significant boost of traversal and the power of the PS5 SSD, you'll be able to soar across the city with high speeds. And bruh, like the speeds that we saw in that gameplay trailer, I can just imagine when you get upgrades how fast you can go. If you was already going fast, now I just cannot imagine. Now with Peter getting some new upgrades with the Symbiote suit, of course Miles got some new upgrades when it comes to his bioelectricity and his gadgets. So with his gadgets, he has a new one called the Web Gripper, which basically pulls enemies together in an isolated spot, which basically sets up Miles to actually use his new abilities called the Thunderburst and Chain Lightning. Now for the description for the Thunderburst, it goes on to state that it's an electrifying ground pound that does high damage against a group of enemies. And for Chain Lightning, it's pretty much what you expect from a Chain Lightning. You basically shock an enemy and it will spread across other enemies, defeating them as well. So honestly, Miles got some really dope upgrades with his new abilities, and that is just the base of what we've been shown. He's going to get some new abilities as well that we have not seen yet. So if he could already do this, I could just imagine what he could do later on into the game. So we got some pretty good news when it comes to the skill trees for Peter and Miles. So we know that they're going to be sharing a skill tree when it comes to their gadgets. And the reason why they went with this is because since Peter and Miles are training together and working together, they're using the same gadgets. So it's totally understandable that when it comes to gadgets, they're going to be sharing the same skill tree. But when it comes to their personal abilities and the way they play, it's going to be separate skill trees, which is totally understandable because there are two different Spider-Man. Peter has the symbiote in the regular suit, Miles has the OP bioelectricity and his gadgets. So honestly, I can see why they're going with this route. I think it's pretty understanding and fits the story on how they're trying to go with it. So I'm not mad at it. It sounds like a good idea to me. But that's pretty much it when it comes to everything that we know so far when it comes to Spider-Man 2. Let me know in the comments, are you guys excited for this? What in this seemed the most interesting to you? If I have to be honest, I think when it comes to the symbiote and the way Craven is, I think those are the most excited to me. But let me know in the comments how you guys feel about it. It's Lejeune here. I will see y'all later. Peace.